Tim Waltz. This is the same entity that stepped down in office because he got caught scamming in Minnesota. And who was the true victim of that scam? The taxpayer, the US citizen working a 9 to 5, doing their due diligence and paying their taxes just to find out all that bread, all that money is going in the pockets of Somalis and these government officials that has been running a Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme right underneath our noses. Meanwhile, they want to push our attention overseas, but right underneath our noses, the scam is going on in the United States, all because of a government official. But it's not just Tim Waltz, ladies and gentlemen. He's not the only guy that got caught in the scheme. He's just the one that we're pointing the finger towards. Tim Waltz, the governor of Minnesota, resigned because of the scam that was taking place in Minnesota. Then he wants to turn back around and pardon a criminal, a illegal criminal, an alien doing the ungodly gesture to a younger adolescent minor that can't defend herself. She was only 10 years old. Now, before I go into the tape, let me go ahead and break down this story. The United States Department of Homeland Security. Now, this is going to be read from Homeland Security. That is my source. Link is going to be in the description if you'd like to read it yourself. So let's go into the content. Released the following statement condemning Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his fellow politician after they granted a pardon for an illegal alien who had been convicted and repeatedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl. That's some nasty ass work. How do you pardon? And that's why I'm making this live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to make sense of what is transpiring. Why does he get a pardon? Are you saying that you're guilty by association by pardoning a sickle like that? He doesn't deserve to get a pardon. He deserves to be deported back where he came from, but you're giving him a chance. Why is that? He did something that that girl is going to have for the rest of her life. She's going to have to, unfortunately, spread those insecurities to her spouse if she does have a spouse in her future. And it's going to be a uphill battle because she got abused by some Asian guy. On June 10th, 2026, Minnesota Review Commission voted to grant pardon to Tu Lu Vang, a criminal illegal alien from Laos. Let me put this entity on the screen. Vang had been convicted in 2006 of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Vang was said to be removed from the country after a pardon was announced. Now the pardon could throw out his removal from the United States. According to court filings, Vang repeatedly sexual assaulted a girl between 2002 and 2004. On one occasion, he tried to offer his victim $10 to keep quiet about the sexual assaults. $10? While being interviewed by police, he tried to justify his actions by saying that for him, it is a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12. What a sicko.
Freaky frog.
He also claimed that the victim was just as guilty as him and should be arrested. So he's saying that the girl that he molested and abused, that's only 10 years old, should also face persecution. And he gets a pardon from Tim Waltz? Following his conviction, a Department of Justice immigration judge issued Vang a final order of removal on October 31st, 2006. Governor Tim Walz's decision to pardon an illegal alien convicted child, RAPIST, so he can remain in the country is disgusting, said Acting Assistant Secretary Lauren Biss. These are the criminal illegal aliens he and his Minnesota sanctuary politicians are protecting. Why are they protecting this scumbag? Following the conviction, he was placed in the removal proceedings and issued a final order of removal by a judge. This pardon would take away this child's rapist qualifying convictions that made him removable from the United States. So they're trying to pardon the charge that was going to get him released in the first place. Talking about it was a culture thing. Vang entered the United States and California in 1994 and was granted legal status by the Clinton administration. That status was revoked upon his conviction, a final order of removal in 2006. Absolutely. Why is somebody blessed enough to come in this country, taking advantage of the youth, going to get a pardon? That doesn't make any sense, but we're going to cover that here shortly and try to make sense of this chaos. This is not the first instance Review Commission granted a pardon to a illegal alien with a dangerous criminal history. In May, Minnesota pardoned Jane Vang, a criminal illegal alien from Laos, whose criminal record includes conviction for robbery, robbery of business with a GUN, and driving under the influence of you know what that we can't say on YouTube because we're gonna have to keep it YouTube friendly.
Find a little time to yourself and the joy of being a father. But wanted to show you something. My kids and my family kind of helped me do something here. They know that my passion lies with vehicles.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and a criminal board voted to pardon a migrant criminal from deportation. So listen to this, and then I also found the article online.
Back in 2006, Tao Li Vang, he was convicted of repeatedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. He pleaded guilty in a deal that kept him out of prison. DHS says that conviction cost him his legal status and made him deportable. Well, the details in these court documents, they're too graphic for me to repeat to you on air, but it describes the abuse spanning 2 years from the time the victim was 10 to just 12 years old. Now, according to DHS, he received a deportation order after his conviction, but earlier this month, Minnesota's Board of Pardons voted to pardon him.
So then I found information on the Homeland Security website, and this press release came out actually yesterday. So back on June 10th is when the Minnesota Clemency Review Commission voted to grant a pardon for this person. He's from Laos. Vang had been convicted in 2006 for first-degree criminal sexual conduct. As I scroll down below, it says, according to court filings, Vang repeatedly sexually assaulted a girl between 2002 to 2004. On one occasion, he tried to offer his victim $10 to keep quiet about the sexual assaults. While being interviewed by police, he tried to justify his actions by saying that for him, it is a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12 years old. He also claimed that the victim was just as guilty as him and should also be arrested. So following his conviction...
Or what are we talking about? The girl's 10 years old. Talking about the victim should also be held accountable. My God, you traumatized that poor girl for the rest of her life. And he gets a pardon?
The DOJ immigration judge issued Vang a final order of removal on October 31st of 2006. It says Vang entered the U.S. and California back in 1994 and then was granted legal status by the Clinton administration. The status was revoked.
And you know what's disgusting work, ladies and gentlemen, is that people would literally die to be on U.S. soil because regardless of how you feel about America, it is modern day Babylon. It's the land of milk and honey. It's the land of opportunity. It's a land where if you put in the work, for the most part, you will reap the rewards of your labor. People come to America, work from sunrise to sunset to send money back home to their homeland to change their situation. People put their lives on the line, potentially getting deported, but they will go through that risk because they know that the risk is worth putting the stress on top of their back because life is hard. When you're hungry and resources is nowhere to be found, what are you going to do? So they come to America to fight and to put bread back into the family's pockets. So to come to America and take advantage of your opportunity is nasty work. And to get a pardon? How, Sway?
Upon his conviction and final order of removal in 2006. DHS is also saying that this is actually not the first instance of the Clemency Review Commission granting a pardon to somebody with a dangerous criminal history that doesn't have legal status here. So back in May, they also pardoned somebody by the name of Jay Vang, who is a criminal from Laos again, whose criminal record includes robbery, robbery of a business with a gun, and driving under the influence of liquor.
Tampon Tim Walz just pardoned an illegal alien who repeatedly raped a 10-year-old girl in order to prevent this illegal alien from being deported. DHS is accusing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz of trying to shield a Laotian illegal alien from being deported after Walz pardoned him for a 2006 conviction in which he repeatedly raped a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. DHS says Tao Lu Vang was issued a deportation order immediately after that conviction and was set to be imminently deported, but the pardon has now removed his deportable offenses and given him a clean record, which may thwart his removal and give him an avenue to fight deportation. Vang was pardoned for the offense last month by the Minnesota Board of Pardons. All pardons must be approved by the Minnesota governor. And this is who Tim Walz is freaking protecting. He's working to actively undermine the American people and their desire.
So not only did Tim Walz scam the American taxpayers' dollar, but he's given a pardon to illegal aliens doing ungodly gestures and actions to the youth. And why isn't Tim Walz arrested? The beginning of 2026, the Epstein files came out. Even though we been knew these sickos and Hollywood was doing what they were doing behind closed doors. But how come we haven't heard or seen a single arrest? How come nobody has gotten arrested? People release the files. So at this point, it's a mockery. They're showing us that we can't do nothing about it because they control the matrix. Tim Walz over here committing fraud, but he's not behind bars?
To restore order to their country, including for men who rape little girls. Tim Walz should not be the governor of any state. Tim Walz, if the justice system functions, should probably be in jail for his active subversion of attempts to restore order to our country. Something needs to be done about this.
For the victim writing a letter and being so far past it, that's fine. But the other 10-year-olds that live in society that know there's no punishment aside from being on some list for getting molested by a grown adult is absurd. And I like boils my blood that, Tim Walz, other Democrats can't get this. It's like easy to be on the right side of history with immigration. Like allow this country to grow, allow it to flourish in a variety of industries, allow people to come in and be everything from the highest skilled workers to farm laborers. But if people are molesting and raping children, they should go. And I don't understand why there's any nuance there and why we're protecting folks like this, especially because he's saying, I want to stay at home with my wife and 6 children. Well, I'm sorry. You shouldn't rape kids then. Yeah. Or maybe your wife and 6 children got to go through for decisions you made. You can explain to them in another country.
They don't have to go, but
but you can explain to them in another country why you did this and explain to them why you should never do anything like this. Yeah. Okay. I just don't understand why this is so hard for Democrats to understand. I mean, I'm really disgusted. I didn't know about this. I didn't even know about this until we were doing the show today. And I feel like my blood boiling. And I think that maybe even changed and got exaggerated as a mom because I'm like 10 is so innocent. I have a 4-year-old, right? So in 6 years, there's no chance that she understands how to navigate and protect herself in a way that an adult would in any real way. And so even if something happened to you that traumatic at 10, unless you have the right type of therapy and you go through life where you really have come past it, maybe she wants to just write this letter to just remove it from her life and get the stain off her history. Who knows the reasoning why she would write a letter supporting him being pardoned? Maybe she thinks there's no point of her holding on to this grief and animosity. Whatever it is, it still doesn't take away the fact that people should be punished for doing crimes like this. And I have no remorse for getting him out of the country.
An illegal immigrant child predator from deportation. This guy pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl in 2006. He was scheduled for deportation, but last month, Governor Tim Walz gave him a pardon. The DHS acting assistant secretary ripping the Democrat, saying, quote, Governor Tim Walz's decision to pardon an illegal alien convicted child rapist so he can remain in our country is disgusting. These are the criminal illegal aliens he and his Minnesota sanctuary politicians are protecting.
America is permeated by the woke mind virus. Tim Walz in Minnesota just pardoned an illegal alien from Laos who repeatedly assaulted a 10-year-old. Walz pardoned him just a week before he was set to be deported. This criminal claims it's a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12 years old. How?
You know what? In the culture of Islam, if I'm not mistaken, I think the legal age to marry is around 13 to 15, if not younger. So overseas, men be taking advantage of these younger girls. That doesn't give justification to do it in the United States. So whatever you got going on overseas, you got to understand your surroundings. And to give this man a pardon when he is a endangerment to everybody around him is some nasty work. How does he get a pass to stay in this country? Meanwhile, that poor girl is going to have everlasting trauma because a man can keep you know what between his legs. We're going to have to give Tim Walz Donkey of the Day.
How can we possibly protect and be lenient toward pedophiles? They deserve to be in jail for life with no bail. Democratic leaders stand for weak laws that allow crimes like this one to happen and kids to be raped. President Trump should have an absolute power to clean up this mess. Otherwise, America will become a lawless banana republic.
Tim Walz pardoned an illegal alien who essayed a child back in 2005. If I lived on the moon, I would have still seen this coming. It's not surprising. It's egregious, but it's not surprising. This is the same guy who wanted tampons in the boys' bathroom. Jazz hands just can't make good decisions to save his life. This illegal alien was also supposed to be deported, but Yep. Now he can stay here in the comforts of America and probably commit more heinous crimes. So
I could literally throw up. This is absolutely insane. Because of Governor Walz, this guy, a convicted child rapist, can now walk free. But wait, there's more. This literally clears his criminal record and therefore lets him avoid deportation, which was supposed to happen literally 1 week after his pardon date. He was convicted of sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in 2005. And get this is what he told police. It's a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12. And to think Walz literally almost became our vice president, this is absolutely indefensible. How do they plan on defending this?
Tim Walz needs to resign yesterday because can someone explain to me how it is that an individual between 2002 and 2006 who was SAing a 10-year-old girl, even on one occasion offering her the great sum of $10 to keep it quiet, was just pardoned. He was just pardoned. He was convicted of SAing and all of these other things back in 2005, 2006. And now he gets to stay in the United States because of the tremendous achievements that he's been doing after his conviction. So we're not only pardoning these individuals now, but we're now somehow granting them the privilege of remaining in our country, not to be sent back to Thailand, but to remain. An offender who did this for multiple years to a 10-year-old girl now gets to live out the rest of his days in the great country of America.
Once again, my friends, Minnesota's in the national news for all the wrong reasons. An illegal immigrant sexually molested a 10-year-old was recently pardoned and released from prison just last month so that federal officials wouldn't deport him back to his own country. I'm Kendall Walz, the Republican Party's endorsed candidate for governor of Minnesota. That's right, Minnesota Board of Pardons, led by Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court pardoned this criminal in order to protect him.
Tim Walz of Minnesota is a pedophile. Why do I say that? Because he just pardoned a pedophile. This man is named Tu Lu Vang. He's from the country of Laos. He came to our country, the United States of America, and repeatedly raped a 10-year-old girl. He raped her over and over and over again. This man literally told the police, I made a mistake, but it's a minor thing. It's a cultural thing to marry and have sex as 12. Well, he also said the child should be arrested and that she was also at fault. This man was just pardoned by Tim Walz because President Trump's DHS was going to deport him. Vang was pardoned for the offense last month by the Minnesota Board of Pardons, which is made up of Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz, Minnesota's Attorney General, and the Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. This man, Tim Walz, approved the pardon of an illegal alien convicted child that if they are not a pedophile. Who does that? Who does it? I'm not a pedophile. So if I ever saw a pedophile and I was a governor and I had the opportunity to decide to pardon that person or not, no, I would not. Matter of fact, I would use the death penalty immediately upon all convictions, upon all pedophiles, because all pedophiles deserve the death penalty. If you are a pedophile watching this video, you deserve the death penalty at all times, every single time, no matter what. There is no justification for pedophilia. So Tim Walz, can you tell me why he would pardon a pedophile if he himself was not a pedophile? Because anybody else who's not a pedophile absolutely hates pedophiles.
That's what it's looking like, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to make sense. Why would he give a pardon to an illegal alien doing that gesture to a minor? That doesn't make any sense.
The only people who sympathize for pedophiles are pedophiles themselves, or at least curious about it. You gotta be a sick motherfucker. A sick motherfucker to do some shit like this. Tim Walz not only should resign, his ass should be in jail. I mean it. Look, you gotta look at this man's hard drive. You gotta talk to his child. His children, he has two, but the boy, Gus, oh, I don't like to put stuff out there like that, but that child looks disturbed. I remember him at the DNC. That child did not look like he was a very well-regulated child. What childhood did this poor boy go through at the hands of Tim Walz? Tim Walz?
That's some scary work, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we have to be nice to everyone, because you never know what people are going through behind closed doors. Not everyone should have kids, but unfortunately, some people still have kids. And they spread their demons through their kids, doing God knows who knows what. So to spread hate to the next person just because of skin color, in my previous videos, people spreading hate just because of skin color, that's some nasty work. In reference to the Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf, people are glorifying death, all because of political differences. So be kind to one another. You got sickos out here disrupting, abusing their own kind, their own kids that they put on this earth, the same kids they're supposed to protect, they're abusing.
Fucking disgusting scum of humanity. May he live a horrible existence. I hate anybody who defends a pedophile.
Away his criminal record to help shield the man from a final order of deportation.
So Brooke Taylor is on that. She joins us now for more. And Brooke, what did you find out? Good morning.
Hi, Bill. Good morning. Well, Governor Tim Walz facing major backlash for this. So he sits on the board that pardoned this convicted child sex offender as he was just about to be deported. So back in 2006, Tao Lee Vang right here, he was convicted of repeatedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. He pleaded guilty in a deal that kept him out of prison. DHS says that conviction cost him his legal status and made him deportable. Well, the details in these court documents, they're too graphic for me to repeat to you on air, but it describes the abuse spanning 2 years from the time the victim was 10 to just 12 years old. The girl told investigators she met Vang through her older sister, who he later married. Investigators say he admitted, quote, "I made a mistake, but this is a minor thing. It's a cultural thing in Thailand to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12. He also told police that
it is a culture thing to have sex with minors. Okay, whatever you got going on overseas, I mean, if that's how y'all rock, that's how y'all rock. But in the United States, that is against the law. Then this man had the nerve to offer $10 to keep quiet.
the young victim should be arrested too because she was, quote, as much at fault. Now, according to DHS, he received a deportation order after his conviction, but early.
This man is trying to hold a 10-year-old accountable, talking about she's just as guilty as me. You're a grown ass entity trying to push the blame on a minor?
Stop it. Get some help.
Earlier this month, Minnesota's Board of Pardons voted to pardon him. Federal officials say this wipes away his conviction that made him removable and now could help him fight deportation. So the three-member board includes Governor Tim Walz, Minnesota Attorney General.
Some things should never be done. You know, if you caught speeding and you're, a illegal alien in the United States, cops seize your information, it is what it is. That's tough. You're just trying to go to point A to point B, got caught up. It is what it is. But some things such as committing the ungodly to the youth, that is taboo. That should never happen. Real life demons out here exposing themselves, and he gets a pardon because of what reason?
Keith Ellison and Chief Justice Natalie Hudson. DHS blasted the decision, saying in part, Governor Tim Walz's decision to pardon an illegal alien, convicted child rapist, so he can remain in our country is disgusting. This pardon will take away the child rapist qualifying convictions that made him removable from the United States. Now, we reached out to all three board members, including Governor Walz, to ask why they decided to pardon this convicted child sex offender. We have not heard back, Bill.
The Supreme Court handled sports, but here in Wisconsin, we're not done. In my own district, boys are still allowed to play in girls'
You know what's crazy work as well? The Supreme Court just told the United States it is not okay for boys to transform to a girl and play in women's sports. That is a very unfair advantage to be the opposite sex and to participate as if that is your sex. What? We're going to transition here to the backstory of Tim Walz. And I think they're trying to push a Fruity Pebble agenda. They're trying to push, the whole Epstein. They're trying to normalize doing that to kids. They push it in your faces in the Olympic Games. They have all type of symbolism. But it is law. They have to confess what they got going on.
sports and be in our bathrooms and locker rooms. Our legislator passed bills to protect girls, but our governor, Evers, vetoed them 3 times, 2 sessions in a row. Here's the thing, if a governor just signed it, Wisconsin would be the 28th state to protect girls' sports. Instead, we're one of the 23 that don't. My family, my community, and I are fighting to change that. We need leaders who will sign, not veto.
Supreme Court ruled that we can continue to treat our transgender athletes and youth with dignity and humanity and respect, and we'll continue to do that. Like nothing will change there. And I will say this as a coach and a teacher: anything that gets kids involved, I want them to be involved.
Y'all see the gaslight? This man talk about anything to get the kids involved. I'm going to get them involved. First of all, you got to add context. You're trying to put a boy into women's sports. Stop trying to gaslight. Talking about I ain't going to deny a kid from playing. What? You ain't going to deny a kid from playing. Hold on, hold on. I'm charging my phone, so I had to turn off my camera. I'm gonna have to use my other cameras, not as high as quality, but I'm gonna have to turn my camera on and cook this guy. I have to. Hold on. Are we back? Okay, we back. Excuse the low quality camera, ladies and gentlemen. My real camera is currently in the charge. But you have this individual, Tim Watts, talking about it's okay to be transgender and participate in sports. What? What is this man talking about?
And, this idea of folks who have never been to any youth event or any high school event are hell-bent on making sure that some kid doesn't participate in bowling or whatever it might be is ludicrous. And so I think we're on good legal standing. And I think this ability that states that are going to do the worst will do the worst. I think it leaves us open to do what we believe is the right thing to continue.
Instead of worrying about the right things, such as not scamming a taxpayer's dollar out of millions among billions of dollars. Do you know how much they scammed out of Minnesota underneath the reign of Tim Walz, ladies and gentlemen? Over $1 billion. Talk about that. Where's all that money going unaccounted for? Transferring those funds through TSA, paying TSA underneath the table because you can barely bring a carry-on on an airplane. How are you smuggling millions upon billions of dollars through the airport and nobody snitch? I called cab. You obviously paid somebody to stay quiet, but he wants to act Captain Saver transgender. He wants to talk about I'm not going to deny kids from playing. Stop the cap.
Find that there's probably a lot of other things to worry about than 3 little kids wanting to play sports somewhere.
Case in point, Supreme Court ruling that came down just yesterday when a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court upheld state laws that banned transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports. Obviously, as you know, 2 transgender athletes, one in West Virginia and another in Idaho, challenged state laws that prohibited them from participating on women's and girls' sports teams in public schools, arguing that they violate Title IX. The ruling has implications for other states with similar laws, but this was clearly considered a win for President Donald Trump. Signed an executive order immediately upon returning to office that transgender males should not be allowed to participate in women's and girls' sports. Ladies and gentlemen, I support that decision. Ain't nobody backing up from it. I'm a live and let live kind of guy. I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social liberal. But the Supreme Court's decision yesterday was right on point. This is not about transgender rights. Your civil rights, your civil liberties, absolutely they should remain intact. Nobody should be bothering you. Nobody should be harassing you. Nobody should be inflicting violence upon you. None of those things are apropos. We shouldn't allow that. We shouldn't tolerate that in our society. And we should stand with the transgender community in support of them being left alone as human beings. But not when it comes to competing against girls. If you are biologically born a male, you have no business competing in women's sports against girls. You have no business doing that. Why? Because it's unfair to the girls.
It's crazy how the Supreme Court has to get involved to spread common sense. How in their God-given right mind is it okay to be the opposite sex but go over to the side thinking you're that and participate in that sport? Obviously, you have an advantage. Biologically, a man is stronger than a woman. Not all men, because there's some strong ass girls out there. I be trying to laugh with the bros. But let's not, count the ones, the very select few that are stronger than men. Majority of men are stronger than women. So why is it okay for a man to participate in women's sports? That should be a no-brainer, but apparently the Supreme Court has to get involved.
They're at a decided disadvantage with any sport that allows or calls for physicality. Even in the sport of golf, you got...
Shout out to everyone in the building. Shout out to Charles, Spaffy, Renee. Let me go to the polls. We got 36 votes in the building. Should immigrants breaking the law get deported? Question in the polls. 92% says yes and 8% says no. For the ones that vote know. Can you please let me know, why do you think immigrants who break the law should still stay in this country? My take on that is that people risk their lives to come here. For the ones that are, and you taking advantage of your opportunity, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Certain cats that can drive a ball 250 yards, if not longer. Clearly, more so than the females can. In boxing or the UFC, that should be self-explanatory. You think it's all right for a male to transition to a female and to play against females? How would you feel about LeBron James playing in the WNBA against women? Does that seem fair? You look at women playing softball. You think it's all right for them to be swinging at 99 or 101 mile per hour fastballs? This shouldn't have even got to the Supreme Court. And I'm not going to even bring up the fact that transgender people in this country make up 0.002% of the populace in U.S. collegiate sports. Not even a 0.5%. Not even half of a 0.5%. Why are we talking about this? Because it got to the Supreme Court. Because somehow, some way, that was considered crazy. Talk about athletes. I'm not talking about the population.
Okay, now that we are 30 minutes into the live stream, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into the nitty gritty. Why is all this evil taking place? Why is government officials giving a pardon to a illegal alien that had priors? This man on the screen, why does he get a pass? Is it because Tim Walz is guilty by association?
Scandal, that was the bait. Real architects sit on thrones, wear robes, and drink wine while feeding on children's souls in Vatican crypts. Look, let's name what they won't. The 13 bloodlines that run the world aren't who you think. Orsini, Aldo Brandini, Pallavicini, Medici, Breakspear, Farnese, Rothschild, Rockefeller, Warburg, Hanover, Lee, Bruce, Habsburg. These are not old money. They are Baalic parasitic bloodlines. Ritual sorcerers who hijacked empires and installed mind control systems under the illusion of religion, politics, and finance. Where's their origin point? Venice. The Black Venetian nobility ran Babylonian blood cults under Catholic masks. They merged with the Vatican, embedded into the Jesuit priesthood, and exported global slavery through maritime law, trapping you in birth certificates, taxes, and silent contracts with no consent. Venice wasn't a city of romance. It's a sacrificial basin. Why do you think the Pope wears a fish hat? That's not Christian. That's Dagon, a Nephilim water demon. Look, Epstein wasn't a financier. He was a human trafficker for the priest class. He ran blackmail rituals for the elite, orgies timed to celestial gates, using children pre-programmed through MK Ultra satellite nodes. Who funded him? Rothschild-backed banks. He admitted this. Mossad and CIA intelligence mergers. Chabad Lubavitch financiers masked as philanthropists. Why is Ghislaine Maxwell still alive? Because her father, Robert Maxwell, was a triple agent field operator for the Vatican Chabad MI6 Axis. Epstein's Island's temple is a mirror replica of Baal's altars in ancient Tyre. Literally, the owl statues, not for aesthetics, they're invitation gates for entities. Comment, scroll, and I'll send you the full decoded map. Families, cults, islands, bloodlines, oaths, nothing hidden, everything unveiled. Think about it. Why do the Masons care more about rituals than politics? Because politics was just a front. The true power is ritualized trauma.
Walz here from Minnesota. Just wanted to wish everybody out there happy Father's Day. Hope you find a little time to yourself and enjoy
Infiltration and education. They wrote your textbook, scripted your news, and flipped your morals through semantic inversion. Freemasons equal gatekeeping plus maintenance grid. Lodges are ritual fields, not clubs. The checkerboard floor, it's a dimensional binding grid. Chabad Lubavitch equals economic controllers of AI, neuroscience, and cloning. They bankroll the puppet governments, own biometric patents, and sit on quantum computing boards. All three serve the Black Sun priesthood. Shadow Vatican that answers to no government, no court, no God you were taught about. They install presidents, they run wars for soul harvest, and they script pandemics not just for population control, but for ritual sacrifice and initiation of mass trauma loops. Look, everything you were taught was a ritual veil. They fed on your doubt. They survived by your silence. But you're the anomaly.
How are you doing?
I need my Michelle jewelry because that's what I wore on the cover of the magazine. So that's what I need. What jewelry do you?
Ladies and gentlemen, who is on the screen is Kim Kardashian and a woman named Lamy. Now, if you haven't seen her before, she is always around celebrities. She is the gatekeeper, the person you need to speak to elevate your career. Now, not all money is good money. Why am I showcasing this? It's because these stars get glorified and put on a pedestal, but you don't know what they got to do to have that status. Imagine laying with this. Imagine having to put your energy with this person. Exhibit A, Travis Scott. I get those scoops up every time, yeah. Me get my mind, yeah. Throw it to the side, yeah. My man Travis Scott is completely nude with nothing but a pillow covering his lower body. And the woman Lamy, she's in the back. Now, they say a picture says 1,000 words. What do you think happened in this picture? Why does Travis Scott look completely drained looking at the ceiling? Is this art or did something happen here? See, everybody, well, not everybody, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of people glorify and put celebrities on a pedestal. But once again, you don't know what they got to do. When it's time to pay, it's time to pay. And Miss Lamy, she's there to collect. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. On the side, yeah. Don't to the side, yeah.
You have on right now? I always love to see what you have.
You know, I thought of the same ones that you saw when the last time we saw each other. That was a while ago.
Bro, what is she even saying?
I be trying to laugh with the bros. And I still have my monkey, and I hope to have one.
And I have my monkey
Uh-huh.
that you gave me.
Yeah, and you are wearing it sometimes.
I wear it all the time. I don't have anything on now because I was getting ready so fast that I just didn't have time to grab my jewelry. But I've been wearing all the jewelry, all of your jewelry lately.
Yeah, it's so great. And then, so what you were running out from? Where were you this morning?
I had a really busy day today. I worked out. I took my kids to school, and I am now getting ready to film.
Now, why is Kim Kardashian even talking to this woman named Lamy? Because she has to. She is on the spotlight and she cannot ignore her call. She has to answer that FaceTime call. So don't be discouraged working a 9 to 5. Don't be disheartened working and doing it the hard way, because you don't got to bend over backwards to please anybody. You don't have to answer no FaceTime call talking about nonsense just to please some demonic entity. Nobody owns you. You're your own person. You don't got to sell your soul for bread. Kim has to answer to this woman. Why? We know why.
My show. So everyone's coming over here to film in a little bit. It's like 1:30
I
here.
know that's why we have only 15 minutes of you. And so
degree in criminal justice and a minor in psychology, and I am currently in the process of getting my certification in paralegal studies. I have been reading and taking notes on the release of the new Epstein files, so you do not have to. I have begun my research with Mr. Trump. Now, he did tell a reporter today.
Now that nothing came out about me.
Wrong. I would like to start off by saying I do think it's a little weird that my notes are dated 131 and I have that the Trump name appears in the files 5,333 times, but when I went to go check today, February 4th, it only says 4,820 times. When you first search his name, one of the first 10 data sets that you see, I have to stand on this side to cover some of the words because I'm afraid that TikTok will take this down, but I will just read word for word what it says. Now, they are just stated as victim number 1 or Jane Doe. Jane Doe saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. Trump would then auction her. Donald Trump, he then measured the children's and by entering a finger. Now, you can probably gauge what he was talking about. The other guests there included Elon, Alan Dershowitz, Bob Musk, Don Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump. Now, a lot of the other files on there is just random news clippings, random emails, which I'll get into later, and then it goes into one of the first big court cases, Epstein and Trump versus Katie Johnson, who, keep in mind, was a 13-year-old child. And I emphasize, child.
But not a single arrest has been taking place. Epstein files has been released for a hot minute now, but nobody in the United States got arrested. No Ellen, nobody. So they're pretty much showing a mockery. They're trying to say, we do this behind the scenes, and you can't do nothing about it.
Now, people will say that the case was dismissed, but the case was first dismissed because the prosecutor filed it under the wrong form number. So it.
Let's transition back to Tim Walz and the scam. Talking about Quality Learning Center. Imagine running a scam and you don't even inform the people who's running the scam for you how to get the name of the spelling on the building correct. They're scamming so much they can't even spell right.
$2.25 million.
Are we the only community that does fraud?
How come they said this building was closed? Do you guys know where advanced mobility is? Advanced mobility? Yeah, we're looking for it. Never heard of it?
They know we're shining the light on the fraud, and they have no defense.
Would you like to see anybody in the government here held accountable?
Most definitely, because there can definitely be an allocation of funds.
The Minnesota fraud scandal continues to get worse and worse as billions of dollars of fraud has been exposed, and as I showed the world the blatant fraud taking place at daycares and other locations across Minnesota, it became the most viewed video expose on the internet and created instant change within the government as the Fed sent thousands of federal agents to Minnesota, and the HHS froze over $185 million in all payments to childcare. And while politicians like Tim Walz call people like me white supremacists and far-right delusional conspiracy theorists for exposing.
Oh, Tim Walz, you are back in the hot seat. Tim Walz was the governor of Minnesota while the scam has been going on since the 90s, maybe even before. And who was the true victim? Not the Somalis, not Tim Walz getting caught. The true victim here, ladies and gentlemen, is a taxpayer, the United States taxpayer, giving their hard-earned money, thinking in return that the United States government has the best interest of them by fixing the roads, maybe financing the school, changing the books within the school system because, these books are outdated, doing something good for the community. But instead, they want to finesse and scam, giving these Somalis thong sandals, talking about Quality Learning Center without the N in learning.
The fraud. Meanwhile, he actually dropped out of running for re-election. The Minnesota fraud scandal has erupted the nation as protests and riots took place, all starting because daycares like Quality Learning Center were exposed. However, the daycares is only a small portion of the fraud taking place in Minnesota. In this video, I will take you into what has continued to allow this fraud to happen and connect all of the dots for you, exposing all of the fraud from strange connections of the business owners and the politicians who have openly admitted to the fraud on live TV. And to dive deep into the fraud, I met back up with the local David, who has been investigating this widespread fraud scandal for years.
Because, when I drive around the cities here, I see these Somalis driving, and mostly it's like a Plymouth Caravan or whatever, and there's never, ever, ever been a passenger. And in 7 years.
So these Somalians are driving these vehicles, claiming they're a transportation service, but there's not a single client in the car. So where are they going?
I've never seen a passenger in any of these vehicles. I've followed some of them. They're going to Costco, they're going to Sam's Club, they're going to Walmart. The driver gets out, goes in there, loads up a shopping cart, comes in, puts it in the van.
So these Somalians under Tim Walz is running errands with thong sandals. Meanwhile, they're portraying that they're actually a legitimate business.
And off they go back to where they live.
And now we're going to go out and see what's happening with these transportation companies.
And here's the other thing. Tim Walz and the Department of Human Service, you threw the people of Minnesota under the bus. Shame on you, and I'm coming for you.
You heard it here first, David. All right, let's go. So where's the first location we're going to?
The first location is a company called Safari Transportation, Cedar Avenue South in Minneapolis.
And so what makes Safari Transportation Company an interesting transportation company?
Well,
allegedly fraudulent.
Well, the thing about Safari is that they've been registered since 2015 with the state of Minnesota as operating vehicles. And again, the national average for a non-emergency medical transportation company is 20 vehicles. So if they've got 20 vehicles and they're at 607 Cedar Avenue, I have no idea where there's parking them because there is no parking anywhere near this office.
We've arrived to the transportation company. We're outside, and right there we have a Loving Arms adult daycare. All the windows are completely boarded out right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you enroll your child in a child daycare service with the windows blacked out looking like a trap house? Like, these people are scamming, and they had no type of awareness that maybe one day somebody's going to actually call their bluff and ask them, yo, are you running a legit business? Can you show me the paperwork? Because women lie, men lie, numbers don't. Can you show you actually have children enrolled in your business? And instead, they want to black out their windows and play Gucci Man, talking about, no, sorry, no kids here. No, I don't even know why you're coming here. No, sorry. They trapping so hard, they transformed the Minnesota flag to the Somalian flag. And the Somalians have the audacity, not all, but they have the audacity to act like the victim. Talking about, why are you messing up my scam? Now you wanted me to go to work the real way and work hard for my money. I enjoy sitting on my ass and have the U.S. American pay for my way of living. We're getting Arab money.
And there's supposed to be a transportation company registered right here. It's 617, but it's a liquor store. Okay, so the location here is 607 and also 617. These are two transportation companies. We're on a main road right now, and this is 607, and it is not a transportation company. It's actually a money transfer, but it's registered here, 607. This does not look like Safari Transportation. Where is the transportation company?
I don't see any signs denoting that there's any transportation. It's all just looks like money wiring. But if you look at the Secretary of State's office, state of Minnesota, Safari Transportation, 607 Cedar Avenue, and it's been registered here since 2015. That was the original filing.
So let's see if we have the manager. Let's see if we can find FOD. Hello.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to A Goose. Shout out to Daniel Berry Sports Highlights in the building. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to every single one of y'all that's in the building. Let me go to the voting polls. We have 58 votes in the building. 91% says immigrants should be deported, and a whopping 9% says the immigrants that break the law should not be deported. For the ones that said that the immigrants should get a second chance, can you please let me know in the chat, why do you believe after breaking the law that immigrants should stay in the United States?
How are you? We're looking for the transportation company.
Safari Transportation?
Looking for Safari Transportation?
No, there's no Safari Transportation here.
No Safari Transportation?
Safari Transportation, hey, 607 Cedar Avenue.
We're just looking for Safari Transportation.
We don't know.
So, but this is registered for Safari Transportation, 607.
That's the address.
Okay, we don't know.
We're asking where Safari Transportation is.
We don't know.
Okay, so the business is not here.
Don't record.
Fuad Omar?
Fuad Omar?
We don't know. This, do you see this? What is
We don't know. All we know is to do is scam. This is the first time we ever heard of Safari Transportation Services. The white man didn't tell us nothing. All we know is to answer the phone when the white man called and he wire transfers the money and I wire transfer the money back to him. Besides that, the white man never talks to us. He don't care for us. He only gives us thong sandals. That's all he cares about is we have so much thong sandals. Would you like a thong sandal? I don't know about no safari company. And that's the thing about that, ladies and gentlemen. How in the world are these government officials running a scam in Minnesota and they don't inform the pawns? If somebody comes up to you and asks, what type of business are you running? You tell them A, B, and C. Instead, they're caught off guard talking about, I don't know. Do you see anything that says Safari Transportation Services? No. So get out of here. Stop recording. Even though you have the legal right to record because it's in a public place, stop recording. You're messing up my thong sandals. And the true victim is not the Somali getting caught or Tim Walz resigning. The true victim here is the taxpayer because the taxpayer has to work every single day assuming that money is going to go towards somewhere good, such as fixing the roads. You know how many roads got potholes? I mean, when I hit these potholes, I'm like, God damn, that didn't sound good. Instead of working hard for theirs, they're scamming the American taxpayer dollar.
Money transferring.
That's it.
Okay,
Well, this is
registered.
from the state.
This is fraud taking place. This is supposed to say, this is for Safari Transportation.
Go find out.
Yeah, we did find out. This is fraud right here.
Registered here
This is
since
registered.
2015.
2015?
Safari Transportation, state of Minnesota.
2015. Oh, yeah.
Coming through with receipts, coming through with paperwork. And in response to the allegations, the Somalians could have said, you know what? Say what you want to say. Men lie, what women lie, numbers don't. We are legit. We actually are who we say we are on paper, but they can't show the paperwork. And that's the thing. All the allegations and hate can be put to rest if they show the proper documentation that they're running a legit business. But instead, they want to gaslight and portray that they're the victim because they're being selected as the criminals, which they are. If you got caught, stand on that. Crying because you can't scam anymore. It's crazy work. Now, let me know in the chat, for the ones that got caught, should they get deported or should they face persecution within the United States? Now, if they get deported, get them out of here, right? But are they really facing any type of punishment? Yeah, they go back to their country, which is not anywhere close economically in terms of the United States, because this is the land of milk and honey. This is the land of opportunity. When you put your mind into something in America, it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you can flip it. Have that same mindset in a third world country. It doesn't matter how hard you work. If the economy is trash, the economy is trash. What is there to make if the economy is trash? For example, in Venezuela, there is no value of the dollar. They have to put they throw money on the street because the dollar has no value. So people risk their lives to come to the United States, potentially getting deported, potentially even being deleted in treacherous waters. And you mean people that are here are taking advantage of their opportunity? Disgusting work.
Well, but it's registered now. This is current, just off the state of Minnesota website today. This is from today. I just printed this off today. Fuade Omar.
Go check it out.
We're here. This is 607. Where's Safari Transportation?
Okay, it's no Safari, period.
Okay, so it's a fraudulent business.
Did you see Safari anything here?
Exactly.
Did you see?
Exactly. It's not here.
Do you see? Do you see any Safari anywhere? Do you see? The only thing that you see is my thong sandals. That's all you see. Do you see anything else? No. You're messing up my scam, sir. You're a white person in my store. Why are you bothering me? I'm trying to scam in peace, but you won't allow me to scam in peace. You're calling out my scam in front of the world. Why are you doing that? I just want to wear my thong sandals in peace. Hit dogs holler, ladies and gentlemen. Why are you getting so amped up? Because you're guilty. and he's taking away your bread. All that stuff got froze. Everything they scammed, their bank account got froze. They try to leave the country on their own free will. Can't do that. Bank account is froze.
It's a fraud.
Did you see, sir?
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go to the next address. All right, let's keep moving on. So 607, this is supposed to be Safari Transportation, no transportation company. And now we're going to 617, another transportation company. However, it is actually Cedar Riverside Liquor. Where is the transportation company?
617.
617 right here?
Transportation for the state of Minnesota is registered to 617 Cedar Avenue South.
And it's a liquor store. David, they aren't even trying to hide that these are transportation companies. Where are the vans at?
Should we ask?
Let's go ask.
Hey, we're looking for Dreamline Transportation.
What's that?
Now we're in 617, Dreamline Transportation.
No.
Where is the transportation company?
No, we don't have this.
You ever heard of Safari Transportation?
Safari? I know Safari, that money wiring, 607.
The money wiring?
Yeah.
Okay, that's money wiring.
Yeah.
We're looking for Safari Transportation.
607.
They said they never heard of it.
I never did. Safari company, the money wiring, they send money there, that's the 607.
So Safari gets the money and then they wire it out.
Yeah, the money.
That man just said that Safari is actually a money wiring company, so therefore they're receiving money and then wiring it somewhere underneath the name of a transportation company.
So we said to go here.
Wanted to show you something. My kids and my family kind of helped me do something here. They know that my passion lies with vehicles.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and a criminal board voted to pardon a migrant criminal from deportation. So listen to this, and then I also found the article online.
Back in 2006, Tao Li Ving, he was convicted of repeatedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. He pleaded guilty in a deal that kept him out of prison. DHS says that conviction cost him his legal status and made him deportable. Well, the details in these court documents, they're too graphic for me to repeat to you on air, but it describes the abuse spanning 2 years from the time the victim was 10 to just 12 years old. Now, according to DHS, he received a deportation order after his conviction, but earlier this month, Minnesota's Board of Pardons voted to pardon him.
So then I found information on the Homeland Security website, and this press release came out actually yesterday. So back on June 10th is when the Minnesota Clemency Review Commission voted to grant a pardon for this person. He's from Laos. Vang had been convicted in 2006 for first-degree criminal sexual conduct. As I scroll down below, it says, according to court filings, Vang repeatedly sexually assaulted a girl between 2002 to 2004. On one occasion, he tried to offer his victim $10 to keep quiet about the sexual assaults. While being interviewed by police, he tried to justify his actions by saying that for him, it is a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12 years old. He also claimed that the victim was just as guilty as him and should also be arrested. So following his conviction, the DOJ immigration judge issued Vang a final order of removal on October 31st of 2006. It says Vang entered the U.S. in California back in 1994 and then was granted legal status by the Clinton administration. The status was revoked upon his conviction and final order of removal in 2006. DHS is also saying that this is actually not the first instance of the Clemency Review Commission granting a pardon to somebody with a dangerous criminal history that doesn't have legal status here. So back in May, they also pardoned somebody by the name of Jay Vang, who is a criminal from Laos again, whose criminal record includes robbery of a business with a gun, and driving under the influence of liquor.
Tampon Tim Walz just pardoned an illegal alien who repeatedly raped a 10-year-old girl in order to prevent this illegal alien from being deported. DHS is accusing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz of trying to shield a Laotian illegal alien from being deported after Walz pardoned him for a 2006 conviction in which he repeatedly raped a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. DHS says Tao Lu Vang was issued a deportation order immediately after that conviction and was set to be imminently deported, but the pardon has now removed his deportable offenses and given him a clean record, which may thwart his removal and give him an avenue to fight deportation. Vang was pardoned for the offense last month by the Minnesota Board of Pardons. All pardons must be approved by the Minnesota governor. And this is who Tim Walz is freaking protecting. He's working to actively undermine the American people and their desire to restore order to their country, including for men who rape little girls. Tim Walz should not be the governor of any state. Tim Walz, if the justice system functions, should probably be in jail for his active subversion of attempts to restore order to our country. Something needs to be done about this.
Of course, for the victim writing a letter and being so far past it, that's fine. But the other 10-year-olds that live in society that know there's no punishment aside from being on some list for getting molested.
Walz gave him a pardon. The DHS acting assistant secretary ripping the Democrat, saying, quote, Governor Tim Walz's decision to pardon an illegal alien convicted child rapist so he can remain in our country is disgusting. These are the criminal illegal aliens he and his Minnesota sanctuary politicians are protecting.
America is permeated by the woke mind virus. Tim Walz in Minnesota just pardoned an illegal alien from Laos who repeatedly assaulted a 10-year-old. Walz pardoned him just a week before he was set to be deported. This criminal claims it's a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12 years old. How can we possibly protect and be lenient toward pedophiles? They deserve to be in jail for life with no bail. Democratic leaders stand for weak laws that allow crimes like this one to happen and kids to be raped. President Trump should have an absolute power to clean up this mess. Otherwise, America will become a lawless banana republic.
Tim Walz pardoned an illegal alien who essayed a child back in 2005. If I lived on the moon, I would have still seen this coming. It's not surprising. It's egregious. But it's not surprising. This is the same guy who wanted tampons in the boys' bathroom. Jazz hands just can't make good decisions to save his life. This illegal alien was also supposed to be deported, but well, now he can stay here in the comforts of America and probably commit more heinous crimes. So
I could literally throw up. This is absolutely insane. Because of Governor Walz, this guy, a convicted child rapist, can now walk free. But wait, there's more. This literally clears his criminal record and therefore lets him avoid deportation, which was supposed to happen literally 1 week after his pardon date. He was convicted of sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in 2005. And get this is what he told police. It's a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12. And to think Walz literally almost became our vice president, this is absolutely indefensible. How do they plan on defending this?
Tim Walz needs to resign yesterday because can someone explain to me how it is that an individual between 2002 and 2006 who was SAing a 10-year-old girl, even on one occasion, offering her the great sum of $10 to keep it quiet, was just pardoned. He was just pardoned. He was.
Hey, you know, we don't have the paperwork anymore. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book. This is devastating news.
That's cap. So when it comes time to show paperwork and documentation, all of a sudden somebody stole the paperwork? You're looking like a bootleg Temu Jay-Z. That's a spokesperson for the Somalians? This guy, the fake Jay-Z?
A right here. And then you have 617A right here, but this is reliable services, immigration, travel, and tax. I do not see a transportation company anywhere.
Good morning. Hey, we're hoping to find Dreamline Transportation. You ever heard of it?
I've never heard of it. Ask next door.
He said to ask here, that you would know.
Ask next door. This is a mailbox. It's not a real call.
So, Dreamline Transportation could be nothing more than a mailbox. 834.
So it could be one of these mailboxes. Well,
okay, see you later.
607, Safari Transportation, doesn't exist. It's actually a money wiring business. 617, Dreamline, inside of there, it's actually a liquor store. And then 617A is a place where there's a bunch of mailboxes and it says reliable ITT services. How are you doing, man?
I just want to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Why are you sensationalizing the propaganda?
What are we sensationalizing?
To attack our community.
Now this man talking about he's getting attacked. No. How about that energy that you found to approach a YouTuber holding a camera? Shift that energy towards finding that documentation to show that your people, the Somalians residing in Minnesota, you got to clear your people's name up. But you wanted to attack a YouTuber with a camera on the side of the road?
What's your final objective?
We're not attacking your community by any means.
Are you making good money from this?
We're looking for fraud.
No,
for instance, can you answer our
Now the Somalians asking Nick Shirley, are you making any money from this? So he's worried about the wrong person's pockets. Worry about your own pockets. Clear your name up.
question? Where's Safari Transportation Company 607? It's not there. And why don't you answer?
How much money are
why don't you answer the question? Where's 617 Dreamline Security?
How much money are you making?
I make money off of YouTube. That's how I make my money.
Exactly. So you're making money off of sensationalizing.
That my job
and attacking
is
the Somali community.
I'm not attacking you guys. We're asking.
I'll tell you the
fraud
reason
is
why.
Nick Shirley got famous from exposing the fraud that was taking place in Minnesota, the same place where law officials and news reporters. So all these new broadcast stations have better resources than Nick Shirley, but yet they didn't expose the fraud that's been happening for decades among decades.
Fraud, sir.
All right, let me tell you the reason why
fraud is fraud, correct?
Yes.
Has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This
fraud.
Absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, you don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
When I go
Sir,
into
The gaslighting has to stop. Has nothing to do with the color of your skin, has nothing to do if you're being Muslim, whatever the F you want to do. If you want to jump off a cliff, that's your business. This has nothing to do with religion, skin color. It has everything to do with scamming the taxpayer's dollar that's been working hard. Meanwhile, you're benefiting off the back of the hardworking taxpayer because you want to scam, but we can't give all the credit to the Somalians because they can't even get the spelling on the building right, talking about quality learning center without the N in learning. So if they can't even get the spelling on the building right, how are they going to come up with scamming? Obviously, it's a Ponzi scheme.
Talking about fraud. You're talking.
When I go onto your comments,
my comments.
What I see is people that say we do not want Muslims.
So the man is reading Nick Shirley's comments instead of finding the proper documentation to show that he's not a fraud. He wants to go to somebody's comments and read talking about, oh, they're hating on Muslims. I read your comments and every single time you expose us, it's making us Muslims look bad.
Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You are, listen, you're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right, you're sensationalizing.
No, we're not.
All right,
Sir,
something that can.
Just like the Japanese community taking them to concentration camps. What? Nobody's telling y'all to go to a concentration camp. They're saying, why is millions and billions of dollars going unaccounted for, going through TSA, going to Atlanta airport, going all the way to Saudi Arabia? Nobody's snitching, but a YouTuber exposed it. Then they talking about Nick Shirley is a industry plant. People like Candace Owens trying to attack Nick Shirley because he's doing his due diligence and exposing the fraud that's going on within his own country.
Question: Where is the transportation vehicle company?
Jeopardize
answer the question.
The safety and the protection of the Somali community.
We're talking about fraud.
Anything happens to the Somali
community. We're talking about fraud.
Listen, I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching you.
You're getting very close.
I'm not physically touching you. No, I'm not physically touching you.
This is fraud. We're talking about fraud. You're defending fraud. You're defending fraud. You're defending fraud.
People who hate Muslims want us out of here.
People can say
for
what they
being
want.
Muslim,
I'm not censoring anybody.
Are using your material. Islamophobes use your material. People who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the Constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about fraud.
We're
asking about fraud.
You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate Muslims. We're talking about fraud. We're talking about fraud.
Why are you attacking us?
This
is
is
the
fraud.
only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about fraud.
Are we the only community that does fraud? Are we the only community that does this?
This is about fraud.
All right, but there's what, 300 Somali providers in all of Minnesota?
There's actually 800.
Don't keep talking. Don't go
so,
you speak English? Your security doesn't even speak English. Listen, let me tell you something.
See, this isn't a race issue, sir.
Listen,
this is about fraud.
We have, what, 1,000 providers?
Yeah, you guys have a...
Even it's 2,000 providers.
Okay,
you want to sacrifice the safety of 80,000 people because of fucking 2,000 providers? Are you fucking mad? Are you stupid?
I'm not stupid. You're stupid. Where's the transportation company?
What about if a mass shooting happens in Minnesota? It will be because of you. It will be because of you. If any Somali gets hurt in Minnesota, it's because of Nick Shirley.
This is about fraud.
One single Somali gets hurt.
This is about fraud, sir.
It's because of you. Sensationalizes. You son of a bitch. Sensationalizes.
Wow, you're very nice.
Out of our neighborhood.
Very nice.
Get the out of our neighborhood.
Sir, can you tell me where the transportation company is?
Out of our neighborhood. We don't want.
Imagine a Somalian telling a white person to get out of his neighborhood. Bro, you're the one that's a minority in America talking about get out of my neighborhood.
And
and these politicians are just walking off, thinking it's okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump, they want to blame the Trump administration. We have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired. My people are suffering. I'm scared for my little brother. My people are suffering, and these people just walk off. We have a governor who fucking doesn't care. How many more people are gonna freaking die? How many more people are gonna go homeless? And how many more people are gonna be trafficked in our freaking